Hey, good Monday evening, everybody. On this Memorial Day episode of The Latino Conservative, we're going to talk a little bit about what the meaning of Memorial Day is. Also, I just got back from watching 2000 Mules, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. That, and of course, we've got to give some thought to the school shooting that happened in Uvalde, Texas. That coming up. You know the drill. Before I get into all of the topics, I'd like to talk a little bit about the affiliate. This is the only way I can monetize this platform here, which is your platform, which is your voice. The affiliate I've chosen is Chime. Chime, some of y'all have heard of that. It's kind of like a banking account that you get a debit card with, all online. You can send money. They even have these boosts, and there's no overdraft charges ever. They give you a Spot Me feature. But what I really like about them, best of all, is they've got a credit card. It is a secured credit card that is secured by your direct deposit. And you don't really have to worry about paying the bill on that because your direct deposit goes to your Chime. You can set it up so it automatically gets deposited into your credit builder account. And your direct deposit limit is your credit spending limit. So the higher percentage of direct deposit you have going into your credit builder account, the higher your credit score goes, because that's what credit bureaus like to look at. You can find the link to that in the description of this video, of this podcast, if you're watching it, listening to it on one of the podcast channels, or just surf on over to thelatinoconservative.com, and there's a big green banner at the top that you can click on, and we can both get $100 if you sign on. Now to the good stuff. By the way, this mug and more, also available on thelatinoconservative.com. For those of you listening, thank you for listening to this. So we're going to get started right away. Memorial Day. What does it mean? For the longest time, I thought Memorial Day was another type of Veterans Day. And I guess technically it kind of is, but it's really to remember those that didn't make it back, that gave the ultimate sacrifice, in other words. I remember, in fact, I was scrolling through some Facebook memories yesterday, and I was thanking people that I know personally that served in the military that are still around to this day. And this post was about 8 years ago, thanking them for their service. Now, while that's never a bad thing to thank a veteran for their service, that's not what this day is about. This day is about honoring and remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. You know the saying, all gave some, but some gave all. It's for those people. The argument has been made time and time again, and it absolutely disgusts me that no military person alive today, or in the past century even just about, has died for our freedom. Just because they didn't fight in the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. But that's not the case. We do a lot of big brother wars. You know, we go look out for other countries. This is true. I know this. That is the bulk of our wars, is to help protect other people. Vietnam, we were protecting the southern Vietnamese people. The same thing with the Korean War. We were protecting South Korea. Afghanistan, Iraq, you know the drill. We were protecting other people. So while we may not have been standing up for America's freedom directly, we were standing up for other countries' freedoms, which indirectly is standing up for ours. And 100%, without a doubt, the people, though they've been few, the people who've told me that statement there, that nobody has died for our freedom in the past decade, 100% of the time I have no doubt at all that none of them would even consider joining the military. I tried. I honestly gave it my all. See, at the time I was trying to join the Army. Actually, I think it was the Army National Guard. I was told, dude, you got to lose 100 pounds before we even consider you. I was 450 pounds at the time. I mean, I've come a long way. But I lost 100 pounds. Then I blew out my shoulder. Yeah, I started late because the Army wasn't really a thought of mine. But I really considered it because I wanted to get into the Army, and then I wanted to ultimately get into law enforcement. Due to physical conditioning, I just couldn't. It just wasn't in my stars. Now I'm too old, got a bad knee, but I thank each and everybody that is not only serving right now, has served, but especially those who served and didn't come back. So next on the topic, let's talk about this school shooting that happened in Uvalde. I was trying to avoid it. I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to avoid it. But honestly, after watching 2000 Mules, there was a point that was made in that movie that kind of really, really brought to mind why this couldn't have been stopped, or any other mass shooting event recently for that fact. Well, let's start on the front side of this first. It's a horrible act. This guy should not have had a gun. He should not have. He has mental issues. He had mental issues that were known. He was bullied because he dressed in dresses and eyeliner. My guess, I haven't taken pictures. I didn't want to search up this guy very much at all because I didn't want to give him any clout. And I still don't. I'm not even going to say his name. But my guess is that he dressed kind of goth. And in the Valley, that doesn't fly very well. I'm sorry. That just doesn't. Popular to contrary belief, Latinos are really conservative. Especially when it comes to image like that. Latinos traditionally try to portray the traditional image. Man, woman. But this guy had mental health issues. It's been documented. And they've since found some questionable posts on his social media. There's come to light some conflicting data from the police department that first responded, saying that there was a 30-minute or 40-minute wait time before they actually breached the school to neutralize this shooter. They thought he was a barricade shooter, not an active shooter, which there's a big difference there. You know, one, there could still possibly be survivors, and two, there is no survivors except for the shooter. It's handled differently. Meanwhile, parents are going in and getting their kids out of the school through windows that they break. Good on you, parents. There was mistakes making by the Uvalde Police Department. No question about it. They admitted it later after they got caught lying. See, they got caught lying because they were saying they thought that there wasn't an active shooter. Then they thought that there was an active shooter and it took too long to get in. Then just lies after lies. And again, I don't like to give these too much credence because I don't want to give that person that committed that atrocity any clout. But this is for the public officials. Governor Abbott was there one day giving some comforting remarks, basically trying to give a press speech. And he gave the information that he had. Later, he had to recant that because he had bad information. Those officers, and they were part of the local police department, that gave the false lies of information. They need to be fired. I personally believe they need to be prosecuted some sort of way because they gave some information that was a flat out lie that could cause some harm later down the road to somebody else. At the very minimum, they need to be fired and possibly have their license to serve and protect revoked as well, because that is obviously not the job for them. On the political side of it, Beto O'Rourke, another guy I kind of really doubt just saying his name right there, decided to make a scene at the initial press conference. This classless clown went in while Governor Abbott was addressing the community, comforting the community. and use that as a political tool. Tried to stand up. And it wasn't Governor Abbott that went in and addressed Beto O'Rourke and, got into an argument with him. It was the mayor of the town or the sheriff. It was a local official that called him a sorry SOB. And yeah, he was. That was a time of mourning. That was a time of comforting, addressing the community. And he went to go gaslight and make a grandstand. That's horrible. That's a horrible act. How would you feel if I went to one of your family's funerals and did the same thing? But that's the Democratic Party way. They like to use death as a way to campaign. If I'm not mistaken, it was Joe Biden who gave the eulogy at a KKK member funeral and then politicized that event. It's the only thing they know how to do. The saying with them is never let a good tragedy go to waste. And they definitely are not. Now, one thing Beto did do is he went to the NRA event that happened in Houston. And he protested there. Okay, great. You know what? I am okay with that. That was a forum and a venue to do so, by all means. I actually appreciate the fact that you are exercising your constitutional rights to protest and to campaign in that event. Not while people are mourning. Right Side Media was actually out there, and I watched them live for a little bit. And most of the other protesters there, they did exactly what the left does all the time. The whatabouts. So the broadcaster, and I forgot his name, forgive me if you watch this, but I forgot his name, the broadcaster out there who was on ground, was talking to one person, and they said conservatives are fascists and communists, which actually, it's the other way around. The liberals are that. But try to get into an intelligent debate. Then the very next thing, the event was about gun control because it was the NRA, the National Rifle Association. The broadcaster tried to ask, well, why are we communists? Why are we fascists? The person there said, because y'all are trying to take away women's rights to abortion. Totally off topic. I've got people on my own timeline, my own friends, longtime friends, that do that same thing. They don't have intelligent, argumentative points. Sad. I love these people. One in particular, I would jump in front of a bullet for this dude. I have known him. He was one of my very first friends ever that I made. He's my second best friend. Not my first. My first one was also my best man. But I love him equally. So, yeah. Anyway, side note, I felt like I was just in junior high when I said my second best friend. Sorry, forgive me. But he and I go way back. Way, way, way back. I'm talking about 5-6 years olds. And 40 years about. I can't get an intelligent talking point out of this dude that doesn't go way off topic. And I've posted about this plenty of times. They can't find a valid topic, valid argument over your topic. They go to the next one and they circle back. They pull the Jen Psaki, circle back. Pretty soon they mention the original topic that you were talking about, but then it's convoluted, distorted, all sorts of ways. So you try to make your point again, and then they start the circle of life all over again. It's the circle of life. Got to take a drink to that. So, by the way, before I move on, you know the drill. If you like what you hear, if you like what I'm talking about, if you want to hear more, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share this. I've got a smaller podcast channel here on YouTube, and I'm really trying to grow this account up because I've got some big plans again. Making big plans already. The plans have started. I'm not going to mention what those plans are, but it's going to take a couple years for them to come to fruition. but it's going to happen again. It's going to take a lot of work. So I'm trying to grow this account right here to help me out with that, because it's going to take the help of everybody to get this. Again, like, share, subscribe, sign up for alerts. Visit my website, thelatinoconservative.com. Heck, there's also a link there's going to be a link in the description of this video. If you want to be a supporter of this show, you can be a supporter for as little as 99 cents, and you can cancel at any time. So this dude, though, in Yvaldi was posting stuff about wanting to, in fact, he said he was going to shoot his grandma. Then he said, I shot my grandma. Then he posted about that he was going to shoot a school. And not only that, prior to that, he was making quite a few questionable posts. Now keep that in mind as we go further, because I'm going to talk now about the movie 2000 Mules. Spoiler alert. I am going to get into some details on this. So spoiler alert right now, letting you know. They work with one data set. One data set. That's all they work with. Not one point of data, a set of data, which has to do with this thing right here. Our phones. And it made a lot of sense as soon as I heard that. Because I know early in my day in the car business, I was using some cutting edge technology back then called geofencing, which would just target people through social media, through the website, certain people within a certain area for marketing purposes. I would target other dealerships and serve customers at that dealership these huge discounts. Because a lot of people, when they're still shopping for cars, they're scrolling on Facebook, on the internet. And I would target those people at those dealerships and offer them substantial discounts on vehicles, compared to vehicles, because I could even do that. I could tell what they were looking at. And sometimes if they visited the website, I was able to shoot them out an instant pop-up coupon based off of what they were looking at and where they were. High-tech stuff. Mind you, I got out of retail sales about 5 years ago. Pretty close to 5 years ago. So the technology that I'm talking about now is more cutting edge. Very much so. More efficient. So either way, Dinesh D'Souza did a whole study on the 2022 elections. And another disclaimer, I am not saying that there was election fraud. I am not saying that shenanigans happened. What I am saying now is that, here, I got to take off my glasses for this one. I've got to lift my eyebrow for that. For those of y'all listening, I am lifting my eyebrow with my finger because I cannot lift it by itself like my sister can. But the people's eyebrow, I got to give that one the people's eyebrow, because quite honestly, the question that was brought up with that is just, it's too much to ignore. So what he did a study. There's a company, True the Vote is what they're called. Sorry about the little lookup. I forgot the name momentarily, and I'm trying to do as few edits as I can on this because it is late for me and I got to go fly early in the morning tomorrow. So there, blah. Anyway, so this company, True the Vote, they got data from data aggregates. Just so you know what a data aggregate is, it's a company that gets data points from all different sources. Specifically, nowadays, they're using smartwatches and phones. Then what they also did is they got that data, and then they did open records requests for different cities for their surveillance cameras that were around the drop boxes. What they found, I'll put it this way. Mule, as far as person goes, to me has always been somebody packing something for somebody else. It could be something you're going to be my mule to help me move my furniture from one apartment to another apartment, or you can help me carry something illegal, or you can help me carry people. That's a mule. So these people, they allege, put it that way, just so I can be compliant with YouTube, but they allege that they found 2,000 mules based off of their cell phone data. Okay, so what does that mean? Your cell phone gives away your location, basically. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Look at your terms of service. These data aggregates can get so specific, especially if you have smartwatches that pair up with your phone. I use an iWatch. I am okay with it. I know the data that it can provide to other companies. I'm not ashamed of it. But for example, if you get excited over boats and you go to a boating website, your Apple Watch can detect that your heartbeat is starting to race a little bit. So it knows that you're getting excited over watching boats. Pretty soon, you're going to be served boating ads. Or go visit a pet store. See how soon after you visit the pet store, you start getting served pet food ads or pet related ads. It happens. They know where you are. Now, they went and created some filters, and they had petabytes of data with these filters in areas of question: Atlanta, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Detroit, for example. And what they did, the filters they did, is they had to go visit at least these drop boxes at least 7 times, and some other filters. But that was one of the key ones that caught my attention. They had to visit the drop boxes at least 7 times. Over the cities, they counted a total of about 2,000 people that have done that. On average, well, they gave an example of one guy in one night visited drop boxes in 6 counties. And each one at each drop box dropped off approximately an average of 5 ballots each. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but with visiting 7 or 10, they averaged 10 after they did this filter. So you get the point. There's a lot of ballots in question. Lots. But then they broadened that up a little bit and said they reduced the number of visits to one ballot box 3 times. And the number was it just got crazy. I just saw it like an hour ago and I already forgot what those numbers were. So please forgive me on that. I do encourage you, though, go watch it. This company, though, that does this data mining, they tested their data theory. There was a murder in Georgia, and they tested their theory by getting this cell phone data and finding the killer. That killer is actually now arrested, so their data works. They also said that the people that got arrested for the January 6th events, they started getting arrested 2 and 3 days after the event. And they brought up that the process to get arrested within those 2 to 3 days meant that they knew that they were going to be there before January 6th actually happened. Because these cell phones, they track where you've been and they can predict, they give basically your life path. And they can pretty much tell you what you're going to do before you do it. It's kind of creepy, but it totally makes sense based off of posts that you make, based off of how you're traveling. And people were getting arrested 2 or 3 days later after the event that happened on January 6th. The only way that they could have gotten arrested that quick was the process was already in the works. January 6th happened. They went home. They got arrested. So the process was already in the works. And I say that. Back to the shootings. See where I'm getting at now, all of a sudden? You've got these shootings happening. Yvaldi. They probably could have figured it out. Buffalo. Same thing. He predicted that he was going to do it. He said he was going to do it. The subway shooter in New York even was spewing hate speech. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go and start cracking down on everything we post. I am not saying this at all. But stuff that's public like that. Free speech is free speech as long as it doesn't commit a crime. Worst case scenarios. These people should not be able to buy guns. If they show evidence of violence like that, no. Now, I do realize that they're going to get guns no matter what, because there's more guns in this country than there are people, by about 20 million. So gun reform isn't going to work. It's not. I'm sorry. Besides, by the time it takes to actually pass that legislation and put it into effect, how many more shootings we're going to have? My personal opinion is that we're going to have at least one more shooting before the summer's up, because we also breed this thing called copycats. But my point is, we know we've got the technology that can say that this person is going to commit a big crime like that. Let's utilize it, especially if they're posting this in a public forum. Now, if it's on their own personal private blog that's password required, only they can read it, that's a total different subject, because that's something that they've protected with their password. So it's private. But if it's in a public setting, or if the post is made public, not private, by all means, utilize that, right? Why not? It's there. So guys, thank you again for listening to me rant and rave. It's been a long week, long weekend. It's been just a time. I will say that. But one thing is for sure. The Bible says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, says that because God is still there during that time. During that hard time, God is still there for us. He's there for us right now. So again, guys, thank you for listening to me. Really appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, drop me a comment. Help me grow my little podcast. Thank you.